It's time for us to dig into the land of technology. Chris Abel joins us tonight to dig into some fun new toys. Chris, you have a Christmas morning smile on your face with some of these new toys.
I do, yes. So this week, Apple announced a new iPad mini, the smaller version of their iPad, 8.3-inch screen. But what's cool about this is that it's such a leap ahead from the last generation that this one is 25% faster and more powerful, which means Apple says it is built for their Apple Intelligence. That's the suite of artificial intelligence features that they are coming out with. That's the trick, though. It's coming. The iPad mini is coming out for $679 next Wednesday, but it won't have any of the Apple Intelligence features fully loaded. That's going to be offered as a software feature later on. And even then, it's only going to be US English. I asked Apple, what's the difference between US English and Canadian English? And they said it's things like how we have the letter U in color. That may not seem like such a big deal, but that's enough to really trip up an American artificial intelligence. So they will come out with a Canadian English for their Apple Intelligence, but that's going to be something perhaps later next year. So it's kind of an interesting launch from Apple in that they're launching something, but you're not going to have the complete device until much later.
Do you find that concerning, my friend? I feel like it's kind of strange to do that. It's kind of like saying, here's your brand new car. It's got the knobs for air conditioning, but you can't wait. We're not going to be able to turn it on until the springtime and kind of hope it works.
Yeah, you buy it and you don't get air conditioning until next year. I do find it kind of odd. It's something that we've seen typically from Google that'll say, hey, we're rolling out that feature later on. And it hasn't always worked well for Google. So I'm a bit surprised that Apple's doing this. It's not just the iPad mini that's new, but also the iPhone 16, which still doesn't have the Apple Intelligence features either.
One of the technology pieces, Chris, that we've spoken with the car people about is that they are rushing through platform stuff so quick to get technology out in cars. That's why we've seen some of the car theft conversation happen the way it happens, that it's just vulnerable. It hasn't been tested. It hasn't been vetted very well. And I don't want to cause any sort of doubt with this stuff, but it seems to me to be hurrying it to market before Christmas, before it's ready, and then just hanging on to test it. We've seen, and maybe you can speak to this from the perspective of video games. There have been video games that have come out that they've sort of hurried for the deadline, and then they come out and they don't even work, some of them. Like, it's kind of a crazy notion. Are we falling into the trap of just announcing the release? It sounds actually like politics now that I say it. Announcing the release before we even do anything about it.
It's definitely a concern. And it's not just the issue of things not working or security features as well, but it's also the issue that often you're buying things that you actually don't own anymore, especially with things like video games or things that you download or you merely subscribe to. So there's a lot of problems with this new sort of dynamic of just rushing something to market to be able to beat your competition. But at the end of the day, the consumer doesn't get the full package that they had signed up for. It's a big problem and something we're going to have to work on as we move forward year to year.
So one of the things in cars that we've talked about is like heated seats or heating steering wheel as a subscription, as opposed to you buy it in the feature of your car. Would you find that this is like a little bit like that, in that, you buy this phone, it can run the stuff, but I mean, if Apple ever decides that, you only get version 1 of the AI, you don't get version 4 unless you pay extra, then we're paying for this technology that we have, but we can't actually use unless we pay more, much like having the heated seats are built into the car, but you got to pay a subscription if your butt's cold. Like this is a model we're seeing in a lot of places, and it concerns me. Do you feel like that's a safe application, or at least comparison in this?
It is a safe comparison in terms of you're exploring very similar issues. So it sort of manifests differently from one sort of piece of technology to the next, but the underlying problems, the issues are still there. What's driving us towards this? Again, it seems to be something where, you can buy a product and it used to be, it would end up breaking and then you'd have to replace it. Now, no, simply your subscription ran out and the device doesn't work for you anymore. And that's a big problem. It's something that we as a society have to work towards.
Yeah, because you're paying full tilt for the hardware. Like, it's not like you're paying a discount for the hardware. So you're paying more for something that you might not even be allowed to use, if you will. Okay, where do you want to go next? Do you want to do the robot, or do you want to do the NHL one? I like the NHL one.
I'd love to do the robot.
Okay, let's
So
do it.
this past weekend in Germany, the Sinfoniker Orchestra, this big, massive orchestra, all human players, decided to perform a piece of music that would be normally impossible for a human conductor to take the musicians through, because each section of the musician orchestras, they're all playing on a different timeline. The only way that you can get humans to do something that's normally impossible for humans was they brought in a 3-armed robot to act as the conductor. Each arm had its own little conductor's baton, which lit up like a lightsaber. And so this robot took this huge orchestra of humans through a set of music that's so complex that a human being wouldn't be able to do it. I know we have a clip. You should check it out just to see what it's like.
Let's hit it. If you really want to be honest, that's what my brain sounds like lots of days when I'm walking down the street.
Yeah, it's interesting in terms of, I think some people might think that sounds just like noise or it's a mess, but there is a musicality to it. It does seem to work.
That's it's interesting, hey, and that's kind of cool. The calculations that are going on in order to make that happen. I mean, the
Yes,
focus. I
because
mean, you'd be cross-eyed as a human trying to like think that much.
each third of the orchestra, they're working off of a different time beat, and they all have to be able to do that at the same time and yet still be cohesive. And apparently it's just too much for the human brain to do it, but a robot apparently can come in and make it happen.
We used to call that it being a DJ back in the day, listening to two different things at once and trying to match them up. But apparently that's just a robot these days. That's cool stuff. I like it. Well done.
Cool.
Now can we do NHL?
Okay. And you don't want to talk about Thelma?
Yeah, we can hit it quick. We just got to hit it quick. Yeah, you go ahead if you want.
Thelma is a movie I discovered. It's about a 93-year-old grandma. She gets duped online by an online scam for $10,000. She decides to partner up with her friend Ben, played by Richard Roundtree of Shaft fame. And the two of them decide to use the technology they do know, things like wrist trackers, hearing aids that are connected to iPhone, to be able to get their revenge. I know we have a clip if we can play it.
Mm-hmm.
They contact people at random using telephone listings and social networking sites.
Like Facebook?
Sure, by Facebook.
Well, shouldn't Zuckerberg be able to fix this? What about my money? Am I supposed to just let them have it? I'm gonna get it back. I need a ride.
The Zuckerberg thing is even funny too, to touch on it.
It's a hilarious movie, and they do a great job of taking two senior citizens and playing out a fantastic movie-like adventures. There's even a point where they walk away from an explosion. It's hilarious, and I thought it was a really great movie in terms of dealing with the technology as well as dealing with the issues of having two elderly actors lead the whole story. It's called Thelma.
Thelma, check it out. Okay, now we have less than a minute, but we got to hit it because NHL goalie masks is a thing.
You got it. So Apple has partnered with the NHL, and they've allowed 7 NHL goalies to be able to hire artists to use an iPad Pro to be able to personalize their own goalie masks. And so throughout this year, you're going to see 7 goalie masks debut on the Toronto Maple Leafs, on the Canadiens, on the Montreals. Apple's going to release videos on each one in terms of the process of making these masks. And they're pretty cool. You've got masks with demons on them and skulls. It allows the goalies to be very, very personalized and express themselves.
This is an important part of hockey. Hockey fans will know. Chris Abel, thank you for popping in. I appreciate you very, very much, sir. What you don't know in the background is that Chris has been very patient with us this week. And not only is he an awesome tech guy, but he's a good human being. And we love him to bits for that.